Hello, hello, everyone. My name is Stefanie Caley. I am your personal self-esteem and mindset coach here with you for a wonderful masterclass series. This is a 4-part event, and I am super excited because I've brought together some amazing women. They are powerhouses. They are intelligent, passionate. I'm floored that these women are even in my presence, to be quite honest. They're amazing. So this series is all about getting you to your best life. So we're going to be addressing things like shame, fear, guilt, self-care, and why it's so important, amongst many other topics. So today I have with me Elle Westley, and she's having some issues with her visual, so we're just doing audio for her today. But stay around because I promise you, even though you can't see her, she's amazing and she has so much to share with you. So welcome, Elle. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. So I am so thrilled to be here. Thank you for having me, even in the midst of my move and being at a hotel.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually going to cut off my video real quick so we're both audio. Okay. So Elle, if you wouldn't mind starting out with just telling everyone a little bit about you and what you do as far as coaching.
Sure. So first, just to even give you a little bit of background on what I do and how I got started doing what I do is I was kind of a lost soul doing that whole college thing at 17 years old, freshly graduated out of high school, and 1000% certain that I was not in alignment with the path that I wanted to take in life. And so I knew I was supposed to be a business owner. I ended up changing my majors a couple times. I went from music to interior design, which I loved both of them, but there was still something missing. And with lots of turmoil and drama going on in my life at the time, college wasn't fitting who I was. So I left after my second year and I moved to Miami without a plan.
Wow.
And yeah, so I've always been kind of a leap without looking type of girl. And, some ways that has been beneficial. In some ways it's gotten me in trouble. But in Miami is where I actually began to get more clarity on my career path. And I ended up crossing paths with a nonprofit organization that needed a website. And this was 19 years ago.
Wow.
So, yeah. So I actually had my first paying website client. And so that's where I ended up doing website design and getting started with all of that. But of course, for years and years, I didn't allow myself to even call myself a website designer because I thought it was kind of lame and nerdy. And I thought I did something way more awesome than website design. I just couldn't give it a name. And I looked at it as combining my passion of interior design with technology because I love technology. And I made the websites not only look amazing, but function amazing too. So since I didn't yet believe I could launch my own business full time, I ended up working for several different corporate jobs over the years, all while being miserable and bitter that I even had to work for someone else to make them rich.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I worked for Cruella de Vil's clone at some point.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, I learned a lot. And so the upside is that I actually learned so much about operating a business, from small business to large corporations and everything in between. And I spent 13 years working in the corporate world doing web design as a side gig on the side, which was also a full-time commitment. So basically I had no life, and it just took a long time for me to finally make the decision to go after my dreams. So that's a long time to learn that I'm actually worthy of doing something that I'm passionate about. And once I finally launched my website design business full time, I was still working more than full time for a corporate event planning company. And I tried to do it all and keep all the balls in the air, juggle it all. But it doesn't work like that. I think we're all starting to learn. I finally quit my draining job. I quit the toxicity. And so just so I could focus on my business. And once I did that, it was a lot more freedom. But I had this crazy, intense feeling that I needed to launch a network providing support to other women entrepreneurs who may not have had all the knowledge and experience, also known as the stumbles that I've gone through.
Right.
so I wanted to have a place where women could get encouragement, inspiration, but also really resourceful tools, ideas, support, networking, and a plan of action to use in their business. So that's how I ended up with the inspiration for Boss Lady Generation. And I held weekly mastermind meetings. It was a networking group. We had a very active Facebook group and a really impressive membership site that I poured my heart and soul into. So I wasn't only the content creator, but the mastermind leader and the designer, the proofreader, the copywriter. You know, you wear so many hats as an entrepreneur.
Absolutely.
The only problem is I went from releasing my toxic day job straight into another heavy lifting priority while still trying to grow my web design business. So I had ended up putting that as a secondary again. And I lost clarity on my purpose. And I knew that providing other women with guidance on their mindset, their business setup, their online visuals was my strong suit. So I just didn't want to let that go. But I ended up having a major health crisis and I was just forced to shut it all down. And so I shut down everything all at once. I took it all down. And it was the greatest gift of all, to be honest. I still had website design clients, but I had to let go of Boss Lady Generation. And I just had to recognize that I can't do it all at once. I can do it all. We can be it all. We can have it all. Just you can't have it all at once. So, you know, it's taken the past 2 years since I shut that down to do some major healing. And I've learned what self-care truly means for me. And I've learned to not make things so super complicated or complex or to give myself more work to do.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so over the years working with my clients on their websites, I discovered that I was really working with my clients on their mindsets. And I was not only guiding them on their new path of being an entrepreneur, but also helping them align with their true purpose, get the clarity they need, integrate all of that beautiful stuff that I've created on their website into online systems and flow their business so that they can do what they do best without letting all that technology get them down. And I inadvertently became a coach to my clients. So it was like some weird hybrid of web designer coach. And they greatly,
obviously there was a need for it though.
Truly there was. And so they greatly benefited from this hybrid mixture of my skills and design and technology and business. So that's where I am now. And I have Elevation Media Co., where I provide personal life coaching, masterminds, high-performing, high-end websites, social media design, and business coaching.
Wonderful. Yeah. I love your website. I was actually looking it over a little bit earlier. It's simple, but it's straight to the point, and I love that. I feel like actually so many websites these days are just there's so much going on that you don't even know where to look and what to focus on. So yours is very concise and very clear about what you do and what you're passionate about. And yeah, I love it. I absolutely do. And so in all of the things that you've been through, like you said, almost 20 years worth now, you mentioned that you've gotten really good with self-care, and you said knowing what I need. Now, I want to touch on that a little bit because I think people start to feel like they have to do what everybody else does for self-care, and really it's a very personal thing. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, it's a total personal thing. I mean, I ended up, going from not having a self-care routine to really just listening to what I needed on a daily basis. So I have this new thing where I am asking myself, I mean, it's not like I created it or anything, but it's just a new thought pattern in my life where I'm asking myself, is this the most loving thing for myself? And I've been practicing that thought for, at least a year now. And I'll go through my day living intuitively as I can, asking myself, what is the most loving thing I can do in this moment for me? And that's self-care right there, and you don't have to have it all planned out. You don't have to have a spa day. It's not always about that. Although those are great.
Yes, absolutely.
But it's sometimes it's about just stepping back and taking a moment to breathe or go for a walk. Getting in nature is really important for me to raise my vibes. Yeah. Having a creative outlet for myself is super important as well, because when I stifle that, like when I work for a 9-to-5 job, I feel very stifled creatively. And then I lack on my self-care routine because of that. So I've found, for me specifically, I have to have a creative outlet that I can continually feed and nurture. And then that's part of my self-care. Yeah. And, just being present in the moment and not like worrying so much about like tomorrow. You can only worry so much about it, and you have to be present in this moment in order to know what you need right now.
Totally agree. So what is your creative outlet?
Well, I mean, it's so many things. I love creating and designing, obviously. And I love like the whole web design thing is just one other way of using my creativity. But like I mentioned, I majored in music and then I switched to interior design. And so music, for most of my life, I was in competitive competitions throughout the world doing music, and I was in the top elite bands and all of this stuff. So it was like, I thought that was my destiny. And then I quickly realized, I just want to be creative. It doesn't have to be this competitive music thing. Yeah. So that's, the journey that I've taken. But yeah, when I say creative, it can really be anything. I love writing. You'll probably see me writing a lot on Facebook if you already don't. And it's just, it pours out of me. So writing is something that's huge for me. And just expressing my emotions that way and processing and journaling. Those are huge things to me.
That's beautiful. And that's a really good point I want to touch on is I'm horrible at writing. It's almost agonizing for me at times. I can't seem to get the words out onto paper or into text in some way. I'm much better at just talking, or actually my passion, my creative outlet is photography. For some reason, I can get behind the lens of a camera and I can really portray what I'm looking to portray without words at all. So it really goes to show that everybody's self-care is so unique to them. Because if I were to try and sit down and, write this beautiful masterpiece like you do all the time on Facebook, I would just struggle and struggle, and I'd end up with a headache, and probably my neck would be killing me. And, I would be so frustrated, and it wouldn't be self-care at all for me. But for you, it's relaxing and it's inspiring. And that's what it's all about. That's what self-care is. It's what brings you happiness and joy and peace and calm.
Yeah, it's my little version of therapy for myself, absolutely. And I just invite other people into it when I post it. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to worry about, perceptions here because I'm living my truth. Yes. So I just go for it. And I know that it's true for me, and whoever wants to resonate with it will. And, I just leave it at that.
And you bring up a great second point, caring what people think. So this is something that women in particular, I feel like, have such an issue with, especially when we're younger, in our early 20s, our teen years especially, but then even into our early and late 20s. And somewhere in our 30s, I feel like we kind of start figuring out that it really doesn't matter what everybody else thinks. And like you said, the people that are meant to resonate with it will. So what do you have to say about caring what others think?
I have a lot to say about it. I cared my whole life what other people thought. And I grew up, really believing the external validation lie that you needed somebody else to validate you in order to be valid. And that's just not even close to the truth. It's a lie. Like I said, it is not serving us. And I feel like we're at this place right now with technology and just the world collective consciousness that we can all claim a new reality as far as like realizing that we don't need others to externally validate us. We can actually validate ourselves, and we can be okay with that. We don't have to worry about what other people think. You can live your life in fear and worry about those things, but the truth is you can only control what you think about who you are. And so if you're living your truth and you're being authentic to that, then you don't need to worry. There's nothing to worry about because you are just being yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what would you say to someone who feels like they're listening right now and they're thinking, yeah, I definitely care what other people think, but I don't even know where to start with getting rid of that problem. So what would you say to them? What would be maybe a first step they could take, something they could do to kind of get in that mindset of, just being who they are and being okay with that?
Well, that goes into really doing your soul's work and your soul's purpose and finding out your truth for who you are. It really goes into doing a lot of deep inner work. It's not just one thing that you can do. It's actually stepping into saying, you know what, I've lived my life this certain way for a certain period of time, and I'm ready for change, and I'm ready to really step into who I truly am. And that sometimes takes some digging around in the past,
Yeah.
And it takes some healing of the wounds, and it takes a lot of courage to face that past and kind of relive it again so that you can heal it.
Okay. Yeah. So maybe the first step could be just really telling yourself and getting on board with being ready for change.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. Be ready for change, because change is scary. I know that firsthand. Right now, I'm like, I'm moving to a new place tomorrow. And so I haven't had a home. I've been kind of homeless for the past 5 days, but not homeless because I'm in a beautiful hotel. Thank goodness. But, I know what it's like to just be uncertain. And so being ready for change means that you're okay to be uncertain. And that's a huge step. It's letting go of that fear and just trusting in the universe that everything is okay. You're going to be okay.
Absolutely. I love that. And it's so true. You're absolutely spot on. Change is so difficult, but that's really what life is. It's an evolution, and it's constantly, ebbing and flowing, and we can't really stop it. So we might as well not resist it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if we're resisting, then, what they say, what you resist persists. So it's true. And if you start allowing more of the good things that you're focusing on, then those things will start persisting.
Absolutely. And so kind of along this same line of thought is fear. So most people tend to fear change. People have all sorts of fears, but what would you say can be kind of an action step with getting rid of any fear that someone might have? I mean, what worked for you to kind of step out of that fear and move forward? Because we all have it. It comes up no matter what. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
No matter what you're doing in life, you're going to hit that fear wall. So how do we get over it or break it down?
Well, like I was saying earlier, is one of the things that I do is I address the fear. It's so cliche to say face your fears, right? But you face your fears. You really do. I went skydiving last year on my birthday all by myself.
That's awesome.
A lot of people are like fearful of heights or fearful of jumping out of a plane. I didn't really think about it until I was stepping out of the door of the airplane. And then I'm like, oh crap, this is going to be like kind of scary. But I was like, it was on my bucket list. So I'm like, you know what? I've made so many changes in the past few years. I might as well just go skydiving. So I went, and, it's like, sometimes you just have to go for it. But going along with the fear thing, I mean, that's like an obvious fear. But there's fears that pop up that we're not always conscious of as well. And fear can masquerade itself in things that you are comfortable with. So my concept of challenging love versus fear is really my best tool right now. And we do all have fears. I mean, I constantly have fears popping up throughout my day. And just because I've done a ton of mindset work and deep inner work, healing emotionally and physically, it doesn't mean I just magically don't have any fears. So, for me, the best way to challenge it to face it is to challenge the thought. Is this loving, or is this a fearful thought? And for years, when I felt very unsafe and fearful, I would have panic attacks. I would react negatively, or I would like self-sabotage myself with something I really wanted to do, but then, just cause myself to fail. So one thing that it's really easy and simple is to start listening to affirmations or start practicing mantras. You know, one thing that I started doing years ago was listening to Louise Hay and, you know, using her all is well mantra. So now when I'm in a state of fear, I check in, I make sure I'm present in this moment, that I'm not like somewhere else. And I challenge the thought that's occurring. And I say this to myself: all is well. I am safe, secure, and everything is working out for my highest good. And that brings me back to reality. I am safe. I have a roof over my head. I'm fine. Everything is functioning as it's supposed to be in this moment.
Yes. Will you say that mantra one more time?
Sure. All is well. I am safe, secure, and everything is working out for my highest good.
I love that. I hope anyone listening writes that down and uses it. I'm going to use that every single time. I love that. I don't know how I haven't heard that yet, because I've read some of her stuff, but I guess or maybe I've just forgotten. I don't know, but I'm writing that down.
Yeah, I used to fall asleep listening to her affirmation audios. I think you can find them on YouTube. And YouTube is such a wealth of, like, if you're looking for anything just to pick you up, if you're in like a direction that you're just not feeling great, you know, go to YouTube and look up affirmations or mantras or even Louise Hay, and you'll find so many different options there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great reminder that, you know, our bodies are designed to fear for bigger things, like, oh, there's a bear chasing me, I fear for my life, I have to run. You know, that's what we're originally designed to feel fear for. But nowadays we're feeling fear over things that aren't really threatening in any way. We're perceiving them to be threatening, but they're not. So it's a great way to just, like you said, be present in that moment, realize that you're safe, you're secure, everything is fine, your life is not over right now. And that just kind of brings you back to, you know, grounding into, okay, I got this, you know. And so many people need that moment of being able to tell themselves and really truly believe it, that they've got this.
Yeah, because we live in such a heightened state of fear constantly, and we put ourselves through that. We choose to put ourselves through these fears, or these fearful thoughts, when fear is nothing. Like, can you hold fear? Can you, you know, move fear around? It's just an idea. It's an energy. It's a thought. And so once you start to embrace like I create my thoughts, you know, which also creates your reality. Once you embrace this idea, then you start to go, oh, I don't have to be fearful. I don't have to live in fear. I don't have to live in lack. I don't have to live in this scarcity mode constantly.
Absolutely. And I like that you said it's an energy, because that is the absolute truth of the matter. And really all of our thoughts are energy. And like you said earlier, if you can get your thoughts and your mindset on the right track, that truly can change your entire existence.
So much. So much. Yes.
I mean, you can quite literally turn your whole life in another direction if you just get your mind on board with your heart.
Oh, amen. That is so true. I mean, and the only reason I can even say that this is absolutely true is because I've experienced it. And, you know, I lived in a completely toxic like body. I lived in a toxic environment. I worked for toxic people. I had toxic friends. You know, it was just so much. And it was like, once you start to change these things and look at the relationships you're allowing in your life, and you can start to detox, and that's detoxing the fear right there, that energy that other people hold energy too. And if they're pushing their fears onto you, you may be holding onto their fears for no reason other than that they're in your life, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I like that you were saying how you were saying you had toxic people at your workplace and friendships and all of that, and that you slowly started kind of cleaning that up per se. I know when I wasn't working from home and I wasn't an entrepreneur, I was, you know, having to go to an office every day. And you're absolutely right. I mean, you don't have a choice when you're at work who you're surrounded by, when you're working for someone else, that is. But what I will say, because I remember having this thought when I was still working in an office setting, and I would listen to people like us, talking.
Mm-hmm.
And I would think to myself, well, easy for you to say, you're an entrepreneur and you can do whatever you want. Well, I do want to address that, because I remember thinking I felt stuck and I felt like there was no way to get away from those toxic people. And there absolutely is. So the first step, if nothing else, is find a different job. Right? I mean, even if it's not your ideal job,
That's so true.
find something else. Yeah, whether it's the same thing you're doing now or something completely different. If I understand people have to pay the bills, we all do, but you can at least get away from those toxic people by finding a new job. And in the meantime, I guess I should say, if you really desire to not work for other people anymore, start making a game plan of how to get out of it completely. But at least for the time being, get yourself out of that immediate situation.
Oh, that is that is golden advice, because I actually believed I was stuck where I was stuck. And I didn't allow myself to look at anything else, because I was like, no, I have to put in the time here. And I had a situation when I was working for Cruella de Vil's clone, that I ended up, they moved their office to a further location than where I lived. So I wasn't able to drive in anymore. And so I ended up working from home. So I was literally working both jobs at the same time, my business plus that job.
Wow.
And, I could have chosen to work somewhere else, but I thought I was stuck in that position. So yeah, move jobs. It's that in itself is a huge step, but that is the first good step to take. If you're not happy, if you're miserable where you are and the people around you are toxic and you know that it's just affecting you, then get out and find something new to maintain you in the meantime until you're ready to go on your own.
Right. And, and some people enjoy working, in an office or at a business, at a brick and mortar business. And that's absolutely fine, but you just need to really take inventory. This is my opinion, take inventory on what you love, what you don't love about your current job, and then start looking for a job that is more on the path of what you love and less what you don't. And keep making those small changes. It doesn't have to be a huge leap. It can be small changes, little baby steps. As long as you're moving in that direction, that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's so important. I mean, just finding something that is a little more calmer for you in that moment is going to help you enormously, because it allows space mentally for you to start putting those pieces together of what you do want.
Absolutely. And then when you're ready to make the jump, like jumping out of the airplane, call Elle, because she can get you there, right?
I'll shove you out of the airplane. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can.
Absolutely. I've skydived as well, and it is exhilarating. And you're right, it's a bit terrifying.
The only part I didn't like was when I had to step out the door, and I'm like, okay, am I actually doing this?
Right. Yeah. But no, I just really want people listening to know that, one, they're not alone. I feel like we've all been there where we feel stuck in something, whether it's our job or a relationship or, a friendship or whatever. We've all been stuck. So you're not alone. And there is another option. There is always another option.
Oh, yes.
Right?
There is always, I always say there's more than just this way or that way. There's an infinite universe of options.
Yes.
So, it's like we have to broaden our perspective a little bit and go up, in elevation to look down at these different ideas and perspectives and realities of options that we have. Because sometimes we only look at it as a pro or a con or this or that or black and white, and it's not. There's just so many different flexible things with this world that we live in that you can do anything. Like my mom, she and I have a crazy rocky relationship, but one thing that I love that my mother programmed into me when I was very young is that I can do anything that I decide or put my mind to. And so I've if there's anything she told me that I actually did, that was one thing that I held on to, you know. I didn't listen to her on other things though.
Yeah.
But, you know, that was like one thing that I was like, yeah, I really love that, you know, and it aligned with my soul's purpose. So when something aligns and somebody says something that I agree with, I hold on to that. And that became an affirmation in my life that I've lived out. And so dealing with fear for me has been a lot easier in many ways because I've been through so much, but I've been able to just say, you know what, anything that I put my mind to, I can do.
Yeah. And I wanted to touch on what you just said. Anything you can put your mind to, you can accomplish. It is so true. And I was told the same thing by my dad. And I had so many people along the way say, oh my gosh, Steph, get your head out of the clouds. You can't do anything you want. Like there are some things that are just impossible. So live with it.
I love it.
I want to challenge that. I want to say, yeah, bullshit.
Total bullshit.
If you truly want something and you're willing to do what it takes to get it, it is absolutely within your reach. You just have to believe it.
Yep.
And
that's it.
It could be anything. And I do mean anything because, I mean, look at, 100 years ago, all the things that we didn't even know were possible, that we didn't even know existed, that now are normal in our lives.
All the technology, all the everything. I mean,
cell phones is a very simple example. Nobody would have ever 100 years ago been like, oh yeah, okay, Mr. So-and-so, sure, we can talk through this little device to anyone in the world. Okay, you're crazy.
And send them a picture,
Yeah, and here we are, So anything you put your mind to, and if you're really willing to go the distance, it is possible. Please believe that is true.
Yeah, that is. Oh my gosh, we have so many first steps. We need to create a little system here because that's one of the first steps as well, is to just know that there are infinite possibilities and to look at, I just love what you said about there's more than one option. There's more than, there's always more than one option, but there's more options than we could ever imagine. Yes. I mean, that's the truth of it. And once we start acknowledging that, oh my gosh, I'm not limited with these three things, these three options. It's either this, or doom, right. Like I die, and it's like, I do that to myself. I'm like, if this doesn't work out this way, then, it's my life is over. And we're overly dramatic about it with ourselves. And then we just perpetuate that fear even more, but it's really all about saying to yourself, like, okay, I'm here, I'm present right now. I have unlimited options that I may not even acknowledge right now, but I know they exist. And I think that's really one of the first steps, is just saying, I know there's more options than what I'm experiencing right now, and I'm going to find those options.
Absolutely. Yeah. So be willing to allow change, know that there are options. And as long as you're willing to believe in those two things, anything is possible.
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, when I was in 5th grade, I was in the choir and they had us sing the song. It was kind of a really cheesy, dorky song, but I really believed it. It was like, impossible? No, nothing's impossible, and it would just we just kept singing it. And I don't know if it was the repetition of saying it over and over and over to practice for this performance, but I really started believing that nothing was impossible.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I was like, yeah, so I'm going to go do that thing that you said. I love what you're saying about people that are, doubting. And I'm like, oh, silly you. Let me just go show you.
Exactly. That's a silly thought you have there. Yeah. And you don't have to subscribe to other people's nonsense. You just don't. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion, but it doesn't have to shape your opinions or your actions. You can say, okay, that's great, and we'll agree to disagree.
Totally. And, some people think there's some very specific examples I could give you right now, but I won't go into those. But, it's crazy once you start exploring this whole, or kind of testing what your limits are with your boundaries and everything, and what your limitations currently are. Once you start testing and pushing those boundaries a little, you'll start to see that you can create more and more. and you can create it faster. So it's like almost playing a little game, and you can think of it like that because it makes it more fun for me to think of it like that. I'm like, ooh, what else would I like to create? You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Really start paying attention to what signs you're being given by the universe, because they're everywhere. And, I have a friend who actually said to me, hey, Steph, ask for a specific sign. So, for instance, she said, okay, universe, if you're really listening to me and you're really out to do, my bidding, if you will, show me license plates with 3 of the same number or letter. And so she started, driving to work or what have you. And she's like, Steph, no joke, I saw 4 license plates within about a 5-minute period of time that had 3 numbers or 3 letters in a row that were the same. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. Is this really happening? And I said to her, yes, it is really happening. That is exactly the universe saying, okay, let's play this game.
All right. So I'm so glad you said this, because you and I are definitely in alignment right now. So last night, my boyfriend and I were leaving to go for dinner, and we're going to the car, and I just happened to look at the truck that was parked next to our car, and the truck had 3333. And we always notice when it's 1111 or 555 or anything like that. We love those little synchronistic things. And ever since I've been pointing it out to him, he notices it more and more and more. And so it's kind of just a funny thing now, because now it's like really, really over the top obvious. It happens everywhere we go.
Yeah.
So we're going to the car, and I see this truck, and I just look at him, and he's like, yep, I see it. And I'm like, we're like, yep, we see this constantly. I mean, it keeps showing up. And so that's just proof that when you focus on something, it is just a sign, and it's just there to encourage you and to say, yeah, we hear you. We're here too. We're in alignment with you. You are supported. Right.
Yeah. I really truly believe that, when you look at your phone, for instance, and it says it's 444 or 1111, that is the universe's way of saying you're on the right track. You're picking up on my signals. We're in the same flow, and I'm with you, and we got this, and let's just keep on going in that direction.
Yes. So much. Yes. And like, I mean, it'll show up more and more and more. Like I said, you'll start getting into alignment with yourself. And so once you're in alignment and you start getting that confirmation externally, that's your external confirmation if you want any. To me, it shows up through those types of things. And you'll see it in weird things, not just license plates, but billboards and clocks and t-shirts and just weird things. And it's like, oh my gosh.
And songs as well. Do you notice I have my all-time favorite song, and it's an older song. It doesn't play that much on the radio, but I'm not kidding you. In 3 days, I heard it 4 times. And I was like, okay, universe, I'm hearing you. I'm picking up what you're throwing down.
Yeah. Pay attention to the repetition that is showing up in your life. I've noticed birds a lot lately. And so I feel like I was noticing them the other night, and, in the evening time, and just the way they're flying by or whatever, pay attention to the nature that goes on around you. I'm a big nature lover. So I notice those things, and being in nature actually fulfills me a lot.
For sure. So. Yeah. Well, I mean, we are all, made from the earth, and will return to the earth eventually. So, I mean, it makes sense that we're so connected. We're all interconnected.
Yeah. But it's so like, I don't know, there's so many people so disconnected from that idea of, they're just driving to get from A to B, and in such a hurry that they miss the whole point of we are part of this.
Yeah. They're missing all the signs, and not the literal signs, but the universal signs.
Yeah. And it does show up in literal signs too. They're missing those signs too.
That's true. That's very true. Yeah. So, I mean, gosh, Elle, we should probably create a program. We're coming up with gold here.
I know. I love it.
But I mean, truly, if you're paying attention, if you slow down, take a breath, pay attention to what's around you, you will most certainly see that the universe is on board with you. And so all you have to do is set your intention. and it will be, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you have to have that, it has to be aligned with who you are. And so
Correct.
your intention is not somebody else's intention. And so that's where we get that worrying about what other people think thing, where that has to shift. And I really feel like we're in this time right now where we're shifting our consciousness collectively. And so we're getting into this new time where, we are raising children and just raising our mindsets, even across everywhere, what we're doing right now to evolve to this new consciousness where we can take care of ourselves. We can not worry about what other people think, and we can set the intention that is aligned with our soul's purpose instead of, doing the old, which was, I don't know, like I told my mom this the other day, not everybody's meant to work a 9-to-5 job for 35 years and then retire. Right. And my mom's generation, that's what they were taught. And we're in a new generation. This is a new generation, and we're raising up another new generation that's not reliant on that type of model. Mm-hmm. And they're more probably going to be even bigger entrepreneurs, and they're going to be even more online and have more internet and technology things. Absolutely. So, it's awesome to see, but we have to let go of the old belief that you have to work in like a 9-to-5 or whatever day job in order to live a life of freedom. And really, I feel like that's not a life of freedom. That's why I'm called to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah. And honestly, the whole golden years being your 60s and 70s, it's like, no, the golden years are right now, people.
Yeah. Live your life now.
Thank you. Okay, we're on the same page.
I mean, is this not synchronistic?
I know, right? That was absolutely meant to be right there. Oh, we can't even see each other, and we said the exact same thing.
We're just going to leave it right there.
Yes, that's a perfect place to stop. So, Elle, before we close out, would you please let everybody know how they can reach out to you, your website, any free gifts or programs you have going on?
So you can find me at ellewestley.com, and all of my services are available there. And I do have a free affirmation challenge that I do every month. However, it's not going on for August since I have so much change and everything happening in my life right now. But it does start again in September. And it's been a really, really life-changing thing for some of the people who have participated. And it's really easy to participate in it. So that's one freebie that I have. And then another is I have some audio affirmations and meditations for download. If you go to my website on ellewestley.com, I used to do voiceover work for commercials and different things. So that's another creative outlet of mine. So yeah, I love recording meditations and audio affirmations and really just reprogramming our minds to have that positive mindset and replacing it, because there's a lot that you and I still need to talk about. Oh, yeah. But I know that, those things alone, just getting started with some affirmations to start reprogramming those old patterns and dropping those is so powerful and changing.
Absolutely. Elle, I think maybe we should do some Facebook Lives together and really just explore some of these topics more. I'm feeling like there's, like you said, there's so much more that we did not even touch on.
Yes, there is.
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your crazy schedule right now. I really appreciate it. And I know that everybody listening got something to take for themselves today. So I appreciate you so much more than you know.
Thank you so much, Stefanie. It was a pleasure being here and meeting you and getting to talk with you. I can't wait to talk again.
Absolutely. Bye, everyone.
Bye.